I did it. We get situated here. All right. Adjusting my straps, suspender straps. Here we go in a bucket of goo. On to boom. How do you do, folks? Your favorite Amish comedian here, streaming live from my living room with the lovely Mrs. Comic, hanging with you folks in the chat, trying desperately to make Tuesdays suck less. Richter, I hope you made it because I posted the wrong time on the Patreon link. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but it said 7:39. And Richter panicked and he sent me a message. He didn't know what to do for those 9 minutes. I hope you just assumed that I fucked up rather than decided to just wait 9 minutes for no apparent reason. But perhaps, since Richter's so awesome, I should just stick around here for 9 minutes and let this part of the show be like a slow burn. We'll just sit here and stare at me for 9 minutes until we confirm Richter's in the house here. I have other ways to confirm if Richter's in the house. Just wait there. Because a lot of times Richter's driving, and then even though he's watching and that's not safe, he can't really comment. So, all right. I have no way of knowing if Richter's in there. Richter, I'm sorry about this 7:39 shit. It is just basically a commercial for what's been happening to me the past week. I had a couple of serious fuck ups, and I almost had another fuck up, but I fixed that. But I had to cancel a show, which I never do. So now, March, which is usually a whirlwind of cash flow in here, is now officially over for me. I can't wait for March to be done. I'm out of work until April. Those are the breaks, but still, it's not even really as bad as I make it sound. Or perhaps it's worse, and I'm just in a state of denial. That's a possibility as well. But anyway, here we are. It is Tuesday, March 5th. So last week, if you tuned in last week, I was going nuts because a show for Saturday night, the one we just had, canceled me at the last minute. I went fucking postal. But it turns out I got the shows mixed up, and I had the show, and it was a wonderful show, double barrel Roadhouse, way, way over that way. Fantastic venue, nice little stage. It's like a mini Penn's Peak. So, and I don't know if you peckerheads do any emailing from your phone. Things get buried, and I actually nothing even really got buried, so I don't know why I'm blaming that. I just got the shows mixed up, and I went to look on this peckerhead's site, and there was tickets sold, and VIP boxes were sold, and then I sent him a email, and he said, "Well, there's no show. We have to reschedule." So it turns out then I went nuts. I said, "You can't fucking reschedule. Well, it's Tuesday. You can't just say we're going to reschedule on Saturday. That fucks me in a bucket of goo." So rather than tell me I got the venues mixed up, he just kind of let this thing go. So that guy's a little bit of a fuckface too. I was trying to get a date with that guy for another venue, and I thought that's the show Saturday night I was talking about. Turns out me and this other guy never actually really agreed on a date, so he's trying to reschedule a date that doesn't even really exist because we didn't book anything. And I think it's the Saturday night gig. That all got straightened out, and luckily I only went postal on the guy I don't have a date booked with yet. And I was actually kind of really polite about it, but he really could have saved us both a lot of aggravation by saying, "You got into the wrong sister's bed. Get out of here." So he let me go fucking nuts. So then the Saturday night show I was gonna have in outside of Hershey, PA. It turns out it's too close to possibly my favorite comedy club that I work at right now. Harrisburg Comedy Zone lets me hand pick two weekends, and they're so nice to me, but they went a little nuts, and they said, what are you doing? This is like 20 miles away. It's uh, 2 months away from your show. And they went fucking nuts. I was going to actually lose my Harrisburg date. And it makes them sound like dickheads, but I actually should not have booked this show. And so I actually canceled it. I hated canceling it. And and what's that?
The Grantville one.
The Grantville one, yes. But you, Mrs.
Not Harrisburg.
I know, but Mrs. Comic, when you say stuff, it has to be louder so I can hear it. She said, I didn't. Mrs. Comic said, I didn't cancel the Harrisburg show. I canceled the Saturday night show coming in Grantville so I wouldn't fuck up my Harrisburg comedy zone, which I get to handpick that weekend. And that is my birthday weekend. It's also the anniversary of my starting stand-up comedy. So that all got fixed. But basically, I have no work Saturday night. And the people who I canceled the show on, they tried to get me really. It was kind of flattering how they tried to get me, and they took what I told them as far as cancellation as well as it could be taken. So it's been a stressful fucking week, I spent all day Sunday trying to sort that shit out, and then this is how the world rewards you. So Mrs. Comic and I are battling at Pokemon Go, and they have these legendary creatures, and you can join up with strangers in gyms to battle. And like this Tapu Koko needs 5, 6 goons to take it down. I orchestrated a big takedown party last night, and then after you crush the gym and crush the thing in the gym, each person in the battle must then capture their own Topu Koku with like 19 or 15 special white balls. And when those balls are done, if you didn't get them, you don't fucking get them. Everybody fucking got their Tapu Koko except me, and I orchestrated the fucking thing, and I was way too pissed off about that. Then I was actually more pissed off about that than having to cancel the Saturday show. So it shows you where my maturity levels are. And then I went through a mini one of those today, and as you can't see because it's all glary, I did in fact get my Tapu Koko. Mrs. Kama got her Tapu Koko, and Mary, the cat who plays on the third phone, actually got her Tapu Koko too. So all is well again in the Pokemon Go garden. I'm still going to uh, tell some stories tonight about my days at 98 Rock in Baltimore, which was really a fun run. And the peckerhead who got me down there was actually Rick Strauss, who was with WZZO, and then he went to Baltimore, and he thought it'd be a good idea to bring me in to the 98 Rock show. And it really was. And the difference between a budget for a Baltimore market show like 98 Rock, they had 3 goons in there, and they had a special tech person. So Bearman and Keith days, Moyer had to push all the buttons, and they always had shit to do. They had a whole group in there to do shit, and they were really nice to me. When you come into a new market, and especially radio, sometimes you're just like a punching bag, and they were absolutely wonderful to me. And that connected time wise with my getting a teeny little spot in the movie For Richer, For Poorer, which filmed in 3 different locations down there in Baltimore. So I would be on the film set, and then I would phone into the different radio stations and all that. So there's going to be a mishmash of this right here is For Richer, For Poorer. I was on a film set for about 7 to 9 days in 3 different increments right there, and that was really fun. And at the time, I didn't know how much of a douchebag Tim Allen was. I knew he was kind of a douchebag, but he's really fucking nuts. And then Kirstie Alley was a sweetheart then, and I think she actually went a little nuts. Rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. But that was fun stuff. So 98 Rock stories. They had all kinds of celebrities in there all the time. We had like a fun little rhythm, a fun little banter. So when the movie came out For Richer, For Poorer, um, it got really shitty reviews. And when I was in there after it had been released, Lopez was like reading this terrible, scathing review of how horrible this For Richer for Poorer film was, and I said, so how many sucky films that no one should ever see are you in? And that got me out of hot water there, and that got a big laugh. So that was fun stuff. 98 Rock. I was skeptical character number 87. I'll push some of those For Richer or Poorer stories to the back burner for now. So there's 98 Rock. Uh, they had a lot of celebrities coming through there. Also, a wrestler was in there, Ric Flair, and he really cut to the nines. And he was all gray and shit, but he was also very little, and he was telling stories about he started professional wrestling when it was actually real, and they actually hit each other on the head with chairs, and they bled out and all kinds of shit. And later it got to be choreographed. In fact, I told him I used to print jumpsuits for the WWF events, and that lady who ordered the jumpsuits for WWF, she told all the secrets. I would have fired her. She told a dumbass like me printing jumpsuits that the arch rivals in wrestling actually were roommates, and then they had choreographed rolling arounds together. So they actually kind of sort of they want to kill each other in the wrestling ring, but they actually had choreographed ballet movements that they had to do. So that was good fun then. And then they were all talking to Ric Flair, and they were all starstruck. And then they said, "Well, so Raymond, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I'm thinking what we're all thinking, that Ric Flair is really, really small, short, and he's standing right there." I said, "But," and they were all kind of sort of glaring at me, and I said, "But it is apparent to all of us here that he could also kill us all with a left backhand slap, and we'd all be dead in a second, and he wouldn't even spill his coffee. So that's kind of fucking crazy when you think about it. This guy's little, and apparently he could have just Richter made it. Richter, have you been here the whole time, or did you wait the 9 minutes? So I'm not going back in time. I straightened this out. You should know by now, Richter, that would be a fucking type error. So the wrestling guy was down there, Ric Flair. That was fun stuff. John Waters, the Pink Flamingo guy, he phoned in. He was out of the closet gay, and it was still a little in those days to be out of the closet. And so I'm talking. I absolutely know that he was gay, and his films were all kinds of crazy and stuff. So he was fun talking to us. And then I said, I would like to see if you would be interested in doing, because you make the craziest films, the craziest theme films. I was wondering if you would consider having me star in like an Amish gay film. And the people in the Kirk Martin Lopez went white and they were going to faint. And he goes, I think that's a really wonderful idea. It never really happened. And when I think about it now, I'm kind of glad it never really happened. So that was fun stuff there. And then also down on the film set, we have something that I was in therapy for. Mrs. Comic, I would be in therapy for it if it was really happening. I was in a hotel getting ready to go to the film set, and Mrs. Comic said that somebody overnighted a script to me, or I don't know exactly what happened. So I got a phone number for a film director in Philly, and I called him up, and I was suspicious because he answered his own phone. A hotshot film director actually probably shouldn't answer their own phone. So it was Bikini Bandits was the project, and I think they actually overnighted the script to me while I was in Baltimore in the hotel, and I skimmed over this thing. And when I called the guy back up, he was waiting for me to commit to this role. It was basically like 7 or 8 strippers who just robbed banks, and then they hid in Lancaster, and they whipped creamed people up, and they put frozen hot dogs up their ass, and it seems like a fun weekend that you would deny. But I didn't really want to be in this thing. It really wasn't that funny, and it was kind of like soft core porn. And I told the guy that, I said, it doesn't really seem that funny, so I don't know what role you have for me. I'm not too anxious to have a frozen hot dog shoved up my ass and be whipped cream. So it's almost soft core porn, and best I could do is if you would want me to be involved in this thing at all, I would need to do some writing and write some stuff for me, but I would also need to charge you for this. And he got really fucking pissed off. And Mrs. Comic was so happy that I did not take the role in Bikini Bandits. And our daughter, who was brought two at the time, she's grown up and she's probably completely thrilled that I'm not in Bikini Bandits. So that was a thing from down there, Bikini Bandits. Then we had the story of the oh, uh, they had a house comedian, Mickey Coachella, that he was funny. He was funny. He was there. What I was the Bearman and Keith was Easy O. He was kind of their local house comedian. So him and Lopez were talking. We're on the air, and they said they were up at Pennsylvania for a gun show, right? And so they're talking, and we're on the air, and then I said, "Well, did you buy any guns up there?" And they got real serious on me. They said, "No, that." Well, they didn't say no. They said that would be illegal. I said, "Well, that doesn't mean you didn't buy any." Or we're on the air talking about guns and shit. I'm busting their balls in there. So you went from Baltimore to Pennsylvania. It's not that far, but to look at guns. And I think you could possibly have seen those guns here in this neighborhood. So I'm suspicious that you peckerheads probably did buy some guns, because that's kind of stupid that you'd have to go to Pennsylvania to look at guns, especially since we are now below the Mason-Dixon line, which brings me to Todd and how I found out about 98 Rock. When I worked in a screen printing shop, we hired a helping guy, Todd, and he had a big old southern drawl, and he always talked about, I'm from the South, and what do you say? And he had a conversation by himself, and he would ask me questions, and I wanted to answer, and he would answer for me. I took him along to a couple of shows in Lancaster, and he did this whole thing where he'd ask me a thing, and I wouldn't answer, and then he would answer. So Todd's telling me all about being from the South for a few months, and then finally I said, okay, you say you're from the South, but where in the South? He goes, Baltimore. Baltimore is not the fucking South. I know the Mason-Dixon line is here, and Baltimore is down there, but you can't fucking be from Baltimore and say you're from the South. So that was some fun shit there. Todd from the South, Baltimore. Fuck me in a bucket of goo. I'm peeking my Baltimore notes here. Let's see here. We got the. Oh. There was always fun shit going on there, and they really put me on the spot. They had a really good prize for somebody was phoning in, and I don't know. I think it was whatever was left of Led Zeppelin that was still touring. It was to see them and get a limo ride and be flown somewhere and get a hotel and all this shit. And the person that phoned in, they said there's lyrics to a song, and they said what the lyric was, and they wanted to know what the next lyric was, but they threw it on my shoulders to say the lyric. And before I even said what the lyric was, I said, this is not fair, because this peckerhead, he clearly knows what the lyric is. And if I say the wrong thing, he doesn't get the prize. If I say the wrong thing and he doesn't get the prize, do I get to keep the prize? And said, no, then we just do the next person. I knew what it was. I don't even remember what the fuck it was now, but they were happier than pigs and shit, because you gotta feel for that person that there's an Amish comedian on the radio who is now in charge of if he wins the fucking contest with Led Zeppelin lyrics or not. So that was more fun that we had down there. And then they like to ask me questions and kind of put me on the spot. I was down there during the uh, Monica Lewinsky scandal, and they asked me what my opinions were about that, and I said, well, the thing is that I do blame him, not her, because she was a young intern, and to task when you're like the president, when to task somebody that's an intern, like a college age intern, with a secret of that fucking magnitude, that is a tall ask, and that's what I was saying on here. I said, I mean, I would promise it myself if it was me that went down on the president. I would promise him it would be just be our secret, and the very next day, I would be right in here on 98 Rock telling about, hey, you won't believe who I sucked off yesterday. So no matter when if you're up to shit like that too, if you're tasking someone with a secret that's that weighty, understand the weight of that secret. That is just fucking too much. They just had to tell. So again, there's another gay reference there, and which brings me to yet still another gay reference down there. They held up a magazine, and there was a brunette looking pretty hot on there, and he asked me what I thought. It was a very attractive woman, and they said, well, would you do her?" I mean, well, I'm a married man, but in the context of am I attracted to her? Yes, she's a very attractive woman. I said, well, it's a man, and I'm like, well, I'd still do him. He's pretty hot looking. So we had all these little fun, ridiculous things going on down there. Um, in fact, Kirk Mark and Lopez is still on 98 Rock. I tweeted at him to join us tonight, but he's all plugged into the sports program down there, and so he gets to fly around with the Ravens, and he gets to fly. He's going down to spring training, Baltimore Orioles. So the choice between going to spring training to watch the Orioles or hanging out with me to have me tell stupid shit about what he already knows. We talked about. That's an easy choice. I would have gone there myself. So then the next thing they threw at me down there was some buzz going on about the draft and the military, and they were actually having serious conversations about if you were drafted, it would be your duty to go and serve our country and protect people. And they asked me what I would do, and I said, I have mad respect for those who protect us, but I am also a coward, and you would find me in Canada in a heartbeat, and it would also actually be for the good of the country because I would be a terrible soldier. Being sensitive to sounds, I would spray my entire platoon with a machine gun in the tent when we were on rest break if somebody crinkled a bag of potato chips. So for me fleeing to Canada would actually be better for our troops and for that. So that was also a fun day. And, and they liked the honesty of my answers. Uh, one time they got a little worked up with me is I pussied out. I didn't and to schedule an appearance on this show was flattering. They had stars coming in there all the time, and it was not the kind of thing you could just waltz in there and get on. So it was an honor to get a spot and a return spot on there. And I pussied out of one, but I did phone in, and it's because the uh, Baltimore sniper, the Washington D.C. sniper, was picking random people off, and it was really horrible, and it was really upsetting. And I told them that I was a coward, and I said, but the main reason it's not even so much that I'm a coward, but usually serial killers have like a specific type, and this guy, this DC sniper, whatever the hell they call him, seemed like there was no type. It was deliberately random, possibly to keep people off his tail. I don't really know, but there was no pattern of victims, and that's basically what I said. He really seems like he's trying to bag like one of everything, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have one of me yet. If in between now and next week when I'm supposed to come down, he bags like the Quaker Oats man, let me know, pow, and I'm there. But right now, I'm not going to do it. Higgins in the house, you dog ass. That's amazing. Uh, so that was fun there too. Now also on the Baltimore, yeah, let's toast. I don't know if our one of our sons named Al. We have twoAls. It was his birthday. Was it Sunday? I'm gonna toast him a bourbon balls. Happy birthday, Al. It's probably not. I wouldn't watch me either. This is not much of a birthday show. Right there. So the 98 Rock people had a very excellent relationship with, like I say, the sports teams, and so they had a player, a football player would come in like mostly every week after the Sunday game and talk about what went wrong and what went right and all that. And so randomly, if the football guy wasn't there, there was a there was a there was music playing when we weren't talking, and then hot shots came into the studio and they called a meeting with everybody who worked there, which didn't include me. And so they were, all I could hear was, okay, we're going to bring him in and we're going to talk, but this, you cannot talk about this on the air. So that's the dumbest thing, to take three radio goons and an Amish comedian while we're live on the air, basically, and tell us we're going to tell you a thing that you cannot say on the air. That's Bearman yelling at me 101. So we went over and we huddled around, and this guy, this little skinny ass guy, just an average dopey kind of guy. He's got pictures, and they are hardcore pornography pictures of one of the Baltimore Ravens players and wild cocaine sex parties with white women. So there's this man of color swinging, they were just flying all over the place. And these things were really graphic. And he actually, even though he was showing them to us, which he probably shouldn't have done, he said he got them by mistake. In those days, he took pictures with cameras, and then he took it to the pharmacy, and then they processed it, and they shot him back. So he went to the monster truck rally, and he got the NFL player cocaine sex party photos. I'm guessing the NFL player probably shit in his pants when he got the truck rally pictures. And this guy was heartfelt. He was trying. He knew they had a relationship with the Ravens, and he really wanted to get these pictures back to that player without getting him in any kind of trouble. Seems somewhat admirable in a kind of a weird way, because he was showing them to us. And then I said, when we were off there, I said, uh, well, yeah, you could blackmail him or whatever, but this is actually, I guess, in a creepy kind of way, kind of cool of you. How long have you had these pictures? He's like, 6 months. I'm like, we ain't in too big of a fucking hurry to help this guy out. For 6 months, you let him fucking sweat, and that's probably, you motherfucker. That's a long time to sit on those. I don't really know how that panned out or not. So there you have some more adventures from the '98 rock days. Um, let's see here. Bibbity bobbity boo. This, that. There we go. Oh, let's move along to the For Richer for Poorer. So I'm down on the set of For Richer for Poorer, and I got uh, 25 extra dollars a day for having my own beard. In fact, they put me in the chair, the barber chair, in a makeup tent, and the whole makeup team came around and they poked and prodded me, and they pulled and they stroked, and they wanted to see how all this connected, so they knew how to put on the fake beards. And down there, it was kind of cool too, because they had wardrobe from the movie Witness. It was actually still marked, whoever the person was. Kelly McGillis's bonnet, somebody had that. But the suspenders were fucking terrible. They had a big roll of black nylon straps that you would make, I don't know what you would do with it. And people, you have to go over there, and they took the strap and they put it right there, and they fucking stapled it. And then they ran the strap to the back and they cut it and they fucking stapled it in the back. Dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. So there was that, but there was a lot of fun stories there too, because at the time I had an agent myself, and he was from Reading, and so I was phoning into Reading radio station, WZZO Bearman and Keith, and also 98 Rock. And so my agent was a bit of a fucking asshole, so I dick with him. I'm kind of happy I did this now. I phoned in and I said, from the set, and they were expecting me, and I said, so I'm on the set here, Raymond the Amish comic, on the set for Richer or Poorer. And I said, what would you say if I told you I could get Tim Allen on the phone? And they just went nuts. They were screaming and fainting and going, oh my God. And I said, yeah, well, fuck you in a bucket of goo. If I'm not good enough for you, you don't get anybody. And he fucking hung up on him. Ha ha, how about that? But why the hell would I get Tim Allen to talk on the phone? So the For Richer for Poorer was kind of really fascinating. Here, let me show you some shit here. All right, there's me, not dead center, which was also fun because when the promo for this thing came out, let's go back to this. Okay, he's not, all right, the guy I'm looking for, he's not on the cover of this thing. This guy in this picture, dead center, looks like me. And when the press came out for this thing, everybody thought I had a really big role. But if you look dead center and to what would be my left is Tim Allen. He has a little blue there. He's seated. But there's a dumbass standing on the right of this guy with a beard. And that's me with short fucking hair. That's me. But everybody thought I was the goon in the middle. And I let them think that for just as long as I possibly could. So then here's another one from the set. Check this out. There again is not me with his arm up. And to his left is Mimi with a straw hat. You can see me there with the shit. I don't know how the hell I got that spot right there. So that was fun stuff there. There's me. And then here's another me. I was really mad because, oh, there's me standing up right there. That was actually kind of a fun scene because the wedding got raided and they asked if there were any Yoders here, and then like fucking 19 of us stood up, and I volunteered to be a Yoder right away. So that was a lot of fun there. Now this particular scene was fun too because they had two very brilliant uh, comedians played the parts of the FBI raiding guys. One I think his name was Larry Miller. He's like a character comedian, and they did the black and the white guy thing, and they came in. I didn't really have a good poker face in those days at all. In fact, if we go back to this scene here, not that scene. All right, that scene right there. I actually have a line that I wrote for the guy who has his arm up because he had to make a big speech. That was they were announcing his daughter was getting married to this other guy, and they'd say the thing and they'd say cut and he'd turn around and I'd be standing there, and apparently I was making a not a poker face, and then he finally said, and there was buzz about me being the Amish comic on the thing, so I was mildly a technical advisor, not really, but he said, every time I turn around, you're making a face. What am I doing wrong? And I said, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that I have a problem with that wordy speech from an Amish perspective. And he goes, I knew it. I knew it. I said, and then we had a little chat. I said, it's just too many words. That Amish would not come to be or not to be. That is why we are here today, be it more noble. That he would be really upset about having to speak, but he would also be happy that all his family and friends are together, and it would be more like a friends, family, welcome, bip bop boop, and he fucking knew it, and he high fives me, and he dumbed the line way the fuck down, and the way the line plays in the film, I kind of sort of wrote it with that guy, so that was a lot of fun. We also moved back to that. See if that's the right spot. Nope, wrong picture. Here we go. I really had so much fun on that film set. Okay, so on this thing here, again, it was kind of stupid because they had a barrel there, and there was a like arm wrestling tournaments, which I suspect they wouldn't really have them. It's not like fucking Twin Peaks season 3, where we arm wrestle, and then if I win, I'm your boss, and if I lose, you get to fucking kill me. It's but they were arm wrestling, right? And I have friends that are in technical. Well, Crenshaw, for fuck's sake, Crenshaw's in the movies, so he knows all this shit. I've been on movie sets. The the boom mic guy, they couldn't get the boom down because the barn ceiling was way the hell up. Plus, they wanted that all the people cheering and shit. So the boom mic guy was actually laying. They cut part of the barrel, and he's laying half in the barrel, like you were going to saw him in half, and then laying down on the floor where nobody could see him, in a big fucking harness with this really, I'm guessing, expensive equipment, and they sort of kind of almost had to lay him down into position, and a lot of people who are extras in films are really stupid motherfuckers and they don't understand what's going on here. And one of the dumb sons of bitches mocked him when they lowered him down. And he went, "Man, it sucks to be you." And I'm there, "Yeah, but he gets paid and he'll be in the credits." And then that guy that was laying down there, he was laughing and giving me the thumbs up and all that shit. So I was having so much fun there. And there was another scene that was fun for me. They had um, Kirstie Alley would be walking into a dinner scene with Tim Allen at the top of the barn, and they'd yell, "Cut!" and back to our spots. And so Kirstie Alley would have to go down the steps on a little landing. That was my starting spot, too. So I'm having a wonderful day because we yell, "Cut!" and back on the landing with Kirstie Alley. And she was a real sweetheart. And I told her that I talking to 3 different radio stations, and they are very excited to hear what's happening with me today. Would you have any problem with me telling them that this is kind of an amazing day for me because I don't really have any lines or anything, but it's just like, pow, cut, and I get to go hang out with Kirstie Alley, and we're having nice little chats, and you're such a sweetheart, and thank you for being so nice to me. And she said, "Oh, you can tell them that you're talking to me, but you need to tell them that I'm a real bitch." She didn't want to be such a sweet person that said, and so that was fun. I was getting to tell that she was a real bitch, but she was actually really a rock star. She cursed a lot like me, and she was cursing all up over the place. And then, for whatever reason, Tim Allen, who I believe had some cocaine issues and DUIs and all kinds of stuff, for whatever reason, he had a problem with Kirstie Alley's cursing. Go figure. So he was at it all the time, and he said something that was so sexist, misogynistic, condescending prick. He said, "Kirstie, what did I already tell you about the cursing? Like, who the fuck is he to tell anybody about cursing, right?" And she just glared at him and she said, "Look, Timothy, some of us want to make the best movie we possibly can, even if it's not that good of a movie. We want to still give it our best shot. And some of us want to just kind of phone it in and take the money and run, don't they, Timothy?" And he got fucking mad. And she was needling him a little bit. See, now's a good time you could curse and you could understand how fun cursing actually is. So that was a magical moment for me. I met a lot of people on the film set who are professional extras, and I want to be seen. I'm in this thing; it's a credit. I'm sticking my head around people trying to get weasel my way into the arm wrestling thing and all this fun shit. And so the professional extras, some were telling me that they hide. They hide everywhere because they get more work. Because as soon as you're established in a scene, that's it, and you can't be other places. So that was really kind of fascinating there. And then I asked the one guy, they'd come around and they'd ask us shit. Like, I knew I wanted to be a Yoder. Who wants to be a Yoder? We're out in the field, man. I'll be a Yoder. That was a good move. Any Yoders here? We all stood up. But they were looking for people to dance at the wedding thing. And I asked my new friends in the movie business, they're looking for dancers. Do you think that's a good idea? And the one guy said, "Well, if you're gonna dance, you're gonna be dancing for 3 days." I'm like, "Fuck that shit." So I picked not dancing, which turned out to be a good move. But then the director was really amazing, a really nice guy, and the assistant director was a little bit of a he was a sledgehammer by choice. It was by choice. So I'm on the set, I'm on the stairs with Kirstie Alley, and we didn't really get rolling yet. And the assistant guy went by me, and I said, "I don't want to make any trouble here, but I'm already in this scene down there that we filmed yesterday by the barrel with the arm wrestling thing, and now I'm here in this scene here." And he goes, "Cut me a fucking break, would you?" I'm like, "Fine, I'll be, I will be here, I'll be there, we'll be everywhere because we all look the same. Fuck it, I want to be there. I'll be." So there's a scene in For Richard for Poor where I'm actually walking to where I already am. But like he said, who the fuck knows? Get off my ass. So that's kind of amazing right there. Um, so that was some fun stuff down there. Uh, it was another one of those big breaks that didn't really do anything for me. And Bearman and Keith, WZZO, Tori Thomas were so excited that they had contacted Paramount to do like a big film premiere here about Raimi Amish comic is in this film, and they couldn't verify that I was actually in this fucking film, right? So they had promo stuff and posters, and they sent them all this shit, T-shirts and all that shit. And when they had the premiere was on a Friday night, and I had a show, and Bearman and Keith weren't actually allowed inside the theater because they couldn't verify that I was actually in this fucking thing. So they were in a parking lot outside of the movie theater where For Richer for Poorer were playing, and I was just gonna pop in there and say bye, hello, and I'm going off to my show. So those are good friends, Bearman and Keith, who will stand in a parking lot for my movie premiere, which I myself cannot actually be there for because I'm going off to my own show. And that's show business there. You gotta love that shit right there. So I think that probably wraps it for my Baltimore stories right now, and for Richer for Poor. I know there's going to be other ones. I know what the fun one was. I'm as much of a dumbass as I am. I understand show business. I'm a professional, and I know even though if you ask Bearman and Keith when to shut up and when to speak, they would argue with you over that. But I have respect for a film set. I understand we're not supposed to get in trouble, and we're supposed to be active, and we're supposed to be accessible. Not active, we're supposed to be accessible even when we're not there, because you never know when they're going to need you. So you got to be around, and you also got to shut up. And the assistant director, man, he had a fucking eye on him that was absolutely incredible. So we're in the barn scene for the second day, and he's looking at Polaroids of cake and plates and shit, and he could see what was fucking off from the day before. However much continuity they need for this, I don't really know. He also saw outside the barn, because you could, the big barn back of the barn was open. On the hill, there were purses and shit, and he went fucking nuts. And he was, who the fuck put purses? So those people got in trouble, and he had an incredible eye. And so now, on this day, I forgot the story leading up to this. So the day before this scene was happening, um, I was at a safe distance, and the film set was impressive. They had uh, all these cranes and all kinds of weird shit. So I'm watching this. We were told not to take pictures, and it wasn't really big cell phone. People had cell phones, but it wasn't as nuts as things are today. Everybody had flip phones, and they could take pictures. We were told not to take any fucking pictures whatsoever. So I'm at a safe distance. I'm watching things. I'm kind of on my own here a little bit, and the guy, an older guy, pulled out an actual digital camera, and he said, would I take his picture with all this stuff in the background? And I'm there, I would, accept that the assistant director is a bit of a dickhead, and I don't want to get fucking yelled at, and I don't want him to rip me a new one. And he says, well, don't worry about him. I'm one of the producers, so it's my money. So this guy is one of the money guys, right? So I take the picture, and then, and probably was later that day, we're inside, and I don't know that those two talked. I don't know why they would. I don't know why they wouldn't. And so the assistant director, he's yelling about the purses. He's mad about this. He's mad about that. And he turns to me, he goes, Heavy is the head of the dickhead who wears the crown, isn't it? So he fucking told him that I said he was a fucking dickhead. And then he laughed about it. He said that he was the dickhead on purpose so that the actual director could remain the not dickhead. So the actual director would say dickheaded shit to take care of. Then they turned it over to the sledgehammer guy. So that was kind of fun shit right there. And bibbity bobbity boo. And so now let's move away from Baltimore and For Richer for Poorer, and let's get to some other fun stuff. One of the joys of being married to Mrs. Comic is that she surprises me. We know we have Mary downstairs and we have Caesar upstairs, and we haven't gotten together yet. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But there's also a door that I attach a spring to so it snaps shut nice and fast. And so, quiet, I'm telling a story here. So it's late too. It's dark. It's late. I'm sure I had a crunk and drunk going on there. And Mrs. Comic in the other room doesn't scream, but she says it really loud. She goes, "Oh my God, a bird!" And then and then I heard the door slam to go upstairs, and I thought somehow Caesar managed to get a bird, or the bird flew in, dropped ceiling, a hole in the wall. I don't fucking know. I think there's an actual bird there, and Caesar's gonna rip the fuck out of it. And so, well, it turns out it was a toy bird on the bottom of the steps, but Mrs. Comic actually closed the door fast so the cats don't be on the wrong floor. She's like, "Oh my God, a bird!" The door fucking shut. She knows it's this. I don't know it's this for another 2 fucking minutes till I find out it's a fucking toy bird. That is how much fun we have around this house. And I don't know. I mean, that might be the big finale there to my show, because I mean, how do you top that? That's kind of amazing shit right there. Oh, more cat stories here. Caesar, the rescue cat that was 30 feet up in a tree for 4 days, and we built the thing, and we used the bathroom room divider to help build the thing to get him down. He's got really sweet. He doesn't bleed out my ankles anymore. He's such a sweetie, and he's really fucking smart. But he's really bossy, and he's a big fucking cat. He's big and strong, but also he's like a little baby. But he's really good at communicating now. Mrs. Comic and I have an arrangement here where Mary's litter boxes are downstairs, so I take care of Mary's downstairs litter. And when Mary uses them, she actually cries and lets me know, "I've left the shit in the box, and you can take care of that anytime." Oh, she'll fucking cry, and I'll fucking hear it. And that's kind of really nice of her, because if we leave it in there too long, it's going to smell, and that's going to be fucking horrible. So now Mrs. Comic missed obsession upstairs, and when the litter boxes get a little too bad, see, Caesar will take a shit, and he'll really fucking dig it, and he'll bury it, and it'll be fucking 6 feet under. It'll be like a cemetery. And she missed one, and so I'm up there, and I'm going to the bathroom, and Caesar's going to the bathroom. There's something awesome and also creepy about when I'm on the toilet and the cat realizes there's Mary screaming. So Caesar took a shit in the litter box, and since she wasn't there and things were getting a little bit out of control, he came over and he tapped on the pooper scooper, thus letting me know I needed to do something here. So, Mary, just did you poop?
What's she doing? You want company? She wants company.
All right, so Mary is signaling that this show has in fact ended. Um, Thanks for tuning in. We had a lot of fun. I have no work the whole rest of the month unless that changes, or if I get what I call a surprise show. So thanks for tuning in, and have a wonderful week. Don't be a dick to people. Let's see, what else is there? I don't really know. And I'm certain that as soon as I shut this thing down, I will remember a fun thing that I should have told you. Now, here comes Mary. Are you going to make it in here? Come on in. There's Mary. Mary's feeling her old age a little bit. She's not in her best spirits, so she's here. She doesn't like when I scream loud and all that shit. So we're going to just let's say goodnight to everybody, right? Remember when you made your debut and you showed your ass to everyone? Well, now, here's that. So we're going to do this. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'm going to do this. Stream end.